Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Ian Mullins. I'm a faculty member in sociology. I'm also a member of the United Campus Workers of Virginia, UVA chapter. I'm going to get us started today by reading a statement that was composed by the faculty committee of the United Campus Workers here at UVA. On Monday, August 4th, 2025, the University of Virginia Board of Visitors appointed Paul G. Mahoney, professor and former dean of the UVA Law School, to serve as interim president of the University of Virginia. This appointment was not an example of shared governance, but the result of a closed and exclusionary process masquerading as inclusion. It was designed to pre-screen participants, silence dissent, and provide the appearance, not the reality, of democratic input. This Monday, or on Monday, the BOV patted themselves on the back for welcoming community feedback, which consisted of setting up a nomination website and hosting several small listening sessions. However, no information was provided on how feedback was considered, or even if it was, or who was in attendance at those listening sessions, or who those individuals were that were invited. When the process operates without transparency, with haste, and listening session participation that is by invitation only, that is held behind closed doors, it is not community engagement. It's gatekeeping, it's legitimacy laundering, and it's message management. Faculty, staff, students, and community members were not involved in the process as decision makers, but as props in what seems like a predetermined outcome. This is an unethical betrayal of UVA's public mission and its long-standing norms of shared governance. Let us be clear. This is not a legitimate process. It is a backroom consolidation of power by a politicized board of visitors installed and embodied or emboldened by Governor Youngkin's partisan agenda. At a time when UVA needs visionary, democratic, and community-rooted leadership, the BOV chose secrecy and control. We refuse to be governed without decision-making authority. Our union, the UVA chapter of CWA-UVA, joins students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members in rejecting the idea that the university's future can or should be decided by a handful of unaccountable political appointees. We call on all members of the university community to denounce this appointment as the outcome of an illegitimate process, withhold cooperation from any administrative process not grounded in democratic practices or input, join the growing movement for real shared governance among faculty, students, staff, and community members in all major decisions. The University of Virginia is a world-class public university. It collectively belongs to the people of Virginia and those who teach here. The University of Virginia is a world-class public university. It collectively belongs to the people of Virginia and to those who teach here, clean here, study here, heal here, and build here, to name but a few. It does not belong to a partisan board. We will not be silent while the university is reshaped in the service of personal, political, and corporate agendas. We will continue to resist illegitimate power grabs and make sure that UVA is a public institution that continues to serve the public good. We ask that you join us. You can do so, any group can do so, whether you're affiliated with UVA or not, by declaring no confidence in this BOV. You can visit our website, ucwva.org, and select the Faculty Committee option in the About Us tab and find more information on how. UVA is still in crisis, but a new movement is rising. We invite all workers, students, and allies to stand with us in making a democratic and just public future for this university. So I'd like to invite Adam Barnes, electrical and computer engineering faculty and member of the executive committee for AAUP at UVA, to speak next.
Thank you, Ian. So I'm here representing the American Association of University Professors. We advocate for shared governance, transparency, and academic freedom. And we've been very concerned about the actions of the board up to this point in the Department of Justice, which have violated those norms. Specifically, the transparency, lack of transparency of the Board of Visitors in the ouster of our previous president, Jim Ryan. They have given us very little information about how this was conducted, and this gives us pause as to what constraints, either real or perceived, will fall upon the incoming president. The shared governance is going to require all concerned parties be involved, and that includes the faculty, not only the ones that are involved in the process, but in the process making itself. The best practices demand a preponderance of faculty in that process on the selection committee, and those members should be selected by the faculty themselves and not appointed by outside people. This was not done with the interim president, and there's no evidence that it will be done with the incoming president, which leads us to be very concerned for the shared governance and lack of transparency that the Board of Visitors is showing. We're also very concerned about pressure from the DOJ to dismantle UVA's DEI programs and restrict our curriculum, which flies in the face of academic freedom. Other universities have been forced to sign compliance agreements due to coercion from the federal government. We believe that no compliance agreement should be signed without input from the Faculty Senate, and we cannot agree to any federal overreach that is going to compromise our academic freedom. We're also alarmed at the compliance reviews that are currently being conducted in the School of Nursing and Medicine in a manner that is both secretive and coercive. We need more information about who is funding this, who requested it, why it is being conducted, and why the interviewees have been forced to sign gag orders during the interviews. We would like to emphasize that all faculty members have a right to legal counsel during these interviews if requested. So what have we been doing about this? The AAUP has communicated with the Board of Visitors, the Faculty Senate, and the General Assembly about what the best practices are that need to be followed in order to ensure governance, shared governance, academic freedom, and transparency, and what actions need to be followed for that. We have retained legal counsel and are pursuing legal action in order to ensure that those principles are being upheld. And we will continue to do this despite course of tactics being taken by the government, because if we don't stand for academic freedom now, we will lose it altogether. With that, I would like to introduce Manuel Verdao, who is a professor in the environmental sciences and biology, and who arrived in Charlottesville in 2007.
Thank you very much for coming today. I've been a professor of environmental sciences here for 18 years. I do not usually talk about my personal life or religious practices in public, but these are not usual times. Today I speak as a Jewish member of the faculty, as a former board member of the one synagogue in this city, and as the father of 3 children whose college experiences have been affected by the weaponization of anti-Semitism. I join my Jewish colleagues here and across the country in standing against using the pretext of protecting Jewish members of the university community from anti-Semitism as a way to encroach on academic freedom, cause harm to students, and target international students in particular. It is said that if you want 5 different opinions on a subject, ask 3 different Jewish people. One of the core Jewish values is to engage with disagreement and protect dissent. On its surface, the Talmud is a commentary on Jewish law. Beneath the surface, however, it embodies the Jewish commitment to encouraging discussion and respecting the beliefs and words of others. We may not like all the words of students protesting against the ongoing war in Gaza, and they may make us uncomfortable, but there is nothing in the Talmud that says we must be comfortable. We will not, in the name of protecting Jews, stand for the policies and practices that silence dissent and punish disagreement. We will not, in the name of creating a safe space for Jewish members of our community, stand by while criticism of Israel and the Netanyahu government is conflated with anti-Semitism. And let me be very clear. I know from experience that anti-Semitism is real, it is dangerous, and it is rearing its ugly head now. My own father fled Hamburg, Germany in 1938, going first to Peru because the US was not accepting Jewish refugees. He came to this country in 1949. In 1987, I lived in Israel during the First Intifada, and 30 years later I was in Charlottesville with my children when modern Nazis, led by 2 UVA alumni, marched on this lawn chanting, "Blood and soil, and Jews will not replace us." If the UVA Board of Visitors is committed to rooting out anti-Semitism, I implore the board to support efforts aiming for a diverse, equitable, and inclusive university. Efforts to control universities through supposed concern for anti-Semitism, when the real effort is to suppress inquiry, exploration, and the independence of universities, should not be done in our name. Thanks. I'm now happy to introduce part of the lifeblood of the university, a real student, Clay Dickerson, President of the Student Council.
Thank you very much. Hello. Appreciate that introduction. Thank you very much. Students are concerned with how the Board of Visitors is navigating unprecedented threats to the university's autonomy, and quite frankly, student confidence is waning. We have tried to move on from the mystery of President Ryan's resignation in an effort to collaborate in good faith. Student Council representatives passed a resolution which was forwarded to the Rector and Vice Rector on July 17th, 8 days before the public announcement of the Presidential Special Committee. The resolution included a variety of requests, but the spirit was to ensure the board remains transparent, accountable, and consistently communicative with the student body throughout the presidential transition process. 8 days later, without communication, students learned that many of our reasonable requests were not honored, nor were they discussed. We can and we will live with less, and this message is not about remediating what is done, but rather calling for a new path forward. Let this serve as a reminder that there are consequences to actions, big and small, public and private, and particularly those in the coming days and weeks for the Board of Visitors. My organization and I speak on behalf of the students. The messages we and I convey are reflective of our exceedingly diverse yet unified constituency. I do not, as an individual, succumb to the political whims of state politicians nor the feelings and desires of faculty or staff, but I will always speak on behalf of the students. The Student Council and Board of Visitors share the responsibility to improve the rights, opportunities, and quality of life for every student at the University of Virginia. Further, the board has expressed in its statement of visitor responsibilities its commitment to effective governance defined by a culture of, and I quote, dedication, diligence, collaboration, teamwork, candor, transparency, and accountability. In the previous weeks, the board has failed our community of trust by not adhering to these visitor responsibilities. If nothing changes in the time to come, a sustained lack of trust will certifiably lead to further irreparable damage to their relationship with the students. On a personal note, when I first assumed my position, I was offered the chance to present to the Board of Visitors my plans for the Student Council. This was super exciting. It's so meaningful for me, my organization, and the students who saw this as a bridge being built. I mean, I wish I could fully convey the degree of excitement that we all felt from this opportunity. Excitement which has since turned to anxiety, and the initial hope which is now materializing as doubt, resulting from the board's recent conduct. The presentation was a staunch reminder that we students aren't alone, or at least that we don't have to be. Let us move forward as one, uniting student self-governance with the board's shared governance efforts, all while striving to keep the magic alive that makes our university so special. Will we stand united or fall divided? A lifelong question, and right now we find ourselves facing it, and the choice is the board's, and we're all watching closely. Thank you for your time.
I think we're going to do a question or two, and then I know some folks here have asked to do interviews separately. If anyone has any questions.
I wonder if one of you could comment on the makeup of the speakers. Just happen to be all white men, and what that indicates perhaps of our current moment.
So I think the past few years have been very difficult for the UVA community, and a lot of members who feel more vulnerable are not comfortable speaking out in public. They feel like they will be persecuted, that they will face negative consequences, and those of us that have chose to show up today, while we share their concerns, we feel like it's our responsibility to be able to stand up here and say the things that other people are finding it difficult to say.
Thank you.
You guys spoke a lot about wanting to have shared governance and being kind of in the decision-making process for the interim selection and also, I'm guessing, the permanent selection of the next president. How has it worked in the past? Have faculty and students been more involved when it came to electing Jim Ryan or previous presidents?
I don't have exact numbers, but I have heard discussion that during the search that led to President Ryan, the search committee, rather than being 28, which it is now, was much smaller, and the faculty representation was much higher. From my reading of the list of 28, there is only one person on that committee who is a faculty member who does not have also an administrative position. 1 out of 28 is very low representation. That, I think, is one of the most obvious changes we've seen.
I think too, from the outside, obviously the BOV and most of UVA's leadership has denied comments or time for comments from media. Have you guys from the inside gotten any response to your requests from the Board of Visitors or any leadership team at UVA, kind of stating how and if you guys will be able to help with this next process?
So the answer is no. In my various capacities at UVA, I have reached out to the Board of Visitors on numerous occasions and never received a response. I was on the executive committee in June when the executive committee of the Faculty Senate, when Jim Ryan resigned. They also did not receive full participation or were not able to readily communicate with the board about the process until after the no confidence vote was passed. This board has largely shut us out of discussion, and that's why we demand transparency. We still want to know more about the circumstances that led to Jim Ryan's resignation, and that includes individual board members' involvement in that process. We demand to know what happened in the interim consideration process and what the information they collected was used for, and we demand much more transparency in the search for UVA's 10th president. And I know that in the past, boards that seek presidents may look like this one. But this is not the past. This is a unique set of circumstances where a federal agency has interfered with our independence and the integrity of this institution. We need transparency, and we're demanding more transparency now because of those circumstances than we probably would have in the past.
There's a new class of first years that had orientation when this saga was unfolding, and they'll be here for the semester in a few weeks. Does anyone have a comment on the new UVA that these first years are walking into and what role they have in figuring out the future together?
Yeah, sure. Well, my first thought, and I mentioned this in my statement, but I think there's a unique magic about this place that supersedes any turbulence. I think that at the end of the day, these students are still coming to a place that is a world-class institution. It is a magical place to be, to live, and to learn. And all I would ask of them is to do what they would have anyways. I mean, I feel really optimistic despite the circumstances, but that is simply because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I believe in our collective bargaining power. As long as those students follow their hearts and trust their guts at the end of the day, no matter which way they get involved, even if that's just sharing a smile as they're walking down the lawn, just I think spreading positive energy in an organizing space or in an individual space, I think that they have a part to play in this as well. But it's up to each individual to do so. But.
If I could add to that, I've taught at several different institutions over my career, and UVA students bring something that I haven't seen at the other ones, which is this deep, deep concern and care for the institution itself. That institutional concern, when they act on it, and they often do, is incredibly powerful. And I think what I would say to the first years is be aware of how much power you have.
I think that we might stop with. Sure.
I heard that there will be a teach-in on Labor Day at noon to help get the students aware of what's going on. Can you say anything more about that?
Clay, would you also like to announce the march for the first day? Sure. Okay, why don't we start with that, and then we'll get to Michelle's question.
Okay. On the first day of class, there will be a march, a show of unity at 4:30, the 26th, beginning at the amphitheater. A really exciting opportunity for everyone to get together, to invite these first years, to grad students, to alum, to faculty, to staff, anyone and everyone who has a shared love for this place, to come together as one and reignite the flame that was lost over the summer. So yeah, that'll be the 26th, 4:30, beginning at the amphitheater.
And then there is a coalition that has organized an event for Labor Day that will both connect us in our current struggles to the civil rights movement as an extension of the civil rights movement, help us understand better the role of labor in this moment, but also call upon the students to help keep this place the place they envisioned attending. And relating to the last questions, I know no first-year student has asked to come into UVA under these circumstances. It is incredibly unfortunate that these are the circumstances that they have to enter this institution through. But they will be called upon to do great things if they want to preserve the history of this place. And Labor Day will be a great opportunity for those students that want to do just that, to show up and figure out how to get involved and how to meet the moment.
And other Virginia publics too.
And other Virginia publics. We're hoping that the Labor Day action will be statewide.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Well done.